All right, so you want to catch tarpon. Over the past few years, I have become addicted to finding new spots, but not just any new spots. I like finding tarpon spots in the weirdest scenarios, places that most people would overlook and not even consider, and that's why I'm having success. Make sure you stick to the end of the video where I'm gonna give you the secret sauce to catch more tarpon. So whether you're in an urban environment, out in the countryside, or deep in the Everglades, these key signs will definitely lead you to tarpon. Very first and most important thing you want to do is find moving water. Now, what does moving water mean? That means the water has current. Tarpon are saltwater fish, so they instinctively like to find current because in the saltwater, the water is constantly moving in one direction or the other. So when you're trying to find these fish in freshwater or brackish water situations, you are more likely to find tarpon in areas where the water is flowing. What does that mean? That means there's a spillway on that's pumping the water out. That also means that that body of water likely connects to saltwater. It's not the fish, man, it's the angler.
Oh, that is both of us.
And this might seem like common sense, but you'd be surprised. You need to make sure that where you're fishing leads to saltwater eventually. Doesn't mean it has to be 100 yards from saltwater. You don't have to be a mile. You could be anywhere 40 miles from saltwater, as long as that canal or water system eventually ends up in saltwater, because tarpon, especially when they're small, swim inland. They're gonna swim upstream. That is the first sign that you need to look for. We know that we need to find water that eventually leads to salt water. We also know that it has to be moving water. There's got to be water flowing. So to increase the odds, if you find a T in the canal, there's going to be a way higher possibility that there's tarpon there. Where there's a T in the water, there's double the current, and it'll create a little pocket and eddy and really gets the fish excited. The fish congregate around those T's. The water is flowing west to east as it gets pushed into the intercoastal, so we have moving water. That's the first thing. But then we also have a spot where the canal tees off. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means water is moving down this main stretch of canal, right? But then this other canal right here to the left is also flushing into the main canal. It doesn't have to necessarily be a big canal junction like this right here. It could be something as simple as a little culvert, a little pipe that's pumping water out of it. It's really gonna draw those fish to it. Got him. This is not the big one, but it's still a nice tarpon. This is what you want to find tarpon. Now we will see the water temp's not right, and we're kind of a ways away from true tarpon territory, but this is a lot of what we want when we're trying to find tarpon. So if there are going to be tarpon out here, this is a good spot for them to be hanging out. Could be a good chance that if there are tarpon, there will be here, and yes, there is. Just like that, I had a tarpon bite my fly. So little tiny tarpon, but a tarpon nonetheless. Came up to eat the fly right out of that shadow, and that is how you find tarpon spots. Oh, we got a better one. Still a little guy, but bigger than the first one that ate the fly. So he's a little bit banged up, but hey, caught me a little tarpon, new spot. Water temps are way off, time of year is not good, yet here we are catching tarpon. This is another spot that's very successful that you see in a lot of my videos because it is a junction. We have one canal with flowing water and another canal joining it. However, this one is a little bit different. Instead of the canal that's flowing in a straight line being the one that's flowing out, this one here is actually the one that's the main canal flowing out, and this one is a little kicker that feeds into it. This is the main source of the current, and this one flushes into it. So this is a deeper one, this is shallower, that's why there's more current that flows out of here, but where they join together, it makes tarpon congregate and hang out in that area. Does it matter if the bikes get wet?
Ooh, rocky ball, bro.
Oh yeah, you gotta freaking bow to the king, give him slack, not more tightness. That was a decent one. Here's a bonus tip. If you want to have better luck searching for tarpon with a fly rod, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because I often share tips and tricks on how to get these fish to eat. Even if it's just during one of my vlogs, I'm always speaking and showing you tips and techniques while I'm out there fishing and getting the bite, because every scenario is different. Sometimes you got to switch it up on the fly, whether it's your retrieve, your fly, the way you're casting, where you're casting, and what you're looking for, because weather, tide, moon phase, everything plays a role. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay informed on how to catch more tarpon. Another thing we're gonna look for is structure. Tarpon like to feed on minnows, and minnows hang out in things like grass patches, bridge pilings, rocks. If there's rock piles along the edge of the canal, that is a very good sign that tarpon will be present, because those minnows hang out inside those rocks and the tarpon come cruising up and down those rocks, feeding on those minnows. Oh, I just lost my fly. These key signs to look for are what make me a successful tarpon angler. Pretty much anywhere that I go, if there's tarpon in the region, I will find them. Don't hit your local spillway that everybody knows. I'm typically looking for dirty water. I'm looking for areas where most people do not want to fish. Things that are just often overlooked, where the water quality looks horrible. Most people would drive up, look at it, and take off. You're gonna want to find the nastiest water, dirtiest scenario you could possibly think of, where there's runoff coming off a dirt road into the water, because tarpon are one of the only fish that can thrive in that environment. Tarpon breathe oxygen from the air, so they don't care what the water quality is like. So when all the other bait fish are weak and dying, tarpon get to take advantage and have a feast. So that is what makes them more aggressive in that scenario, and why you often see me fishing in some weird spots. I'm fishing junkyards that are flooding out and there's engine oil everywhere. When you're done fishing, you literally have oil on your hands. Your fly line's pretty much shot, and it's pretty nasty, but the tarpon are there and they are thriving. I pretty much get this question weekly, if not daily. How do I find so many tarpon spots? I've had success doing this pretty much anywhere in the state of Florida, at least within the range of tarpon. And yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of trial and error. Not every single spot is gonna hold fish, but maybe they were there a day before, maybe they'll be there the next day, or maybe an hour later. You never know. So you might have to hit the spots frequently, a few times, and see if the fish are home, because sometimes, depends on the season and the water temps, they're gonna move around. Colder months, they tend to swim further inland than they do in the summer months, so keep that in mind. So check this out. This is another tee, and we have exactly what we want. Water is flowing from this canal straight out towards the intercoastal, and water is dumping in from this canal into that canal. However, there are no fish. Why aren't there any fish? The water level is too low. So this spot actually gets really good when we have a ton of rain, but it's not immediately when we have a ton of rain. It takes the tarpon about 3 to 4 days to trek all the way from the intercoastal to this very spot right here. So again, if you find the spots and there's no fish there, don't give up hope, because you could just miss those fish by a day, an hour, a week. So make sure you check on the spot more than one time before you cross it off the list. Doesn't have to be where I'm fishing. The fish don't know boundaries. They don't know what's going on outside. All they know is water. water and the flow. So they're gonna follow that flow. Now that you know how to find them, I'm gonna teach you how to target and successfully catch tarpon next. Make sure you subscribe and look out for those other tarpon videos coming down the pipeline. That's why I'm excited for my new partnership with Quiet Cat e-bikes, because I will be able to get to more spots off the beaten path that are less likely to be traveled by other anglers, and if there's tarpon around, it's least likely that they've ever seen a fly before.